I built an AI agent that's actually going to blow your mind. Just give me a couple of minutes and I'll convince you exactly why. Let's say you just received 5 emails from potential customers inside your inbox. Now, traditionally what you'd have to do is you'd have to go through each of these emails, read what they're saying, think, and then somehow respond. But what I didn't tell you guys is within just a couple of seconds of receiving the sales inquiry, I received a notification on my phone. It was a message from Quick Reply Ruby. It looks like she sent me a notification to notify me of the sales inquiry, and she's even made an action plan on exactly how she's going to handle it. Looks like in this case, the customer wanted to book a call, so Ruby checked availabilities and she wants to book in the call and send an email confirmation. So all I have to do is grab my phone, click on respond, and then approve of Ruby's action plan. And just like that, Ruby has booked in the call into my calendar and sent the customer an email confirmation. But it doesn't stop there, because just as I accepted the previous action plan, I got another message on my phone. It's Ruby again, and this time she's notifying me of the next sales inquiry. So in this one, the customer's asked a question about one of our services. It looks like Ruby's prepared a draft email to respond to that customer. And in order to prepare information for this draft email, she's gone through all of my company documents and found the document related to our products and services. And then using the information in that document, she's prepared a draft email that she now wants to send back to the customer. But let's say we're not happy with the draft that Ruby's prepared. All I have to do is click on respond and then give Ruby feedback. Let's say you want the email to be longer and more informative. All you have to do is literally type it down and click on submit. And then before you have time to put your phone down, Ruby's going to send you another message, and this time she's adjusted according to your feedback. She's made it a lot longer and more informative. But let's say I'm still not happy with this. I just have to click 2 buttons and then give Ruby feedback. This time I'm going to tell them it costs $12,000. And then just by submitting that, 2 seconds later, Ruby sends me the next draft. And this time she's included that our services are available for $12,000. Now I'm happy with this draft, so I'm just going to click on respond and I'm going to accept it. And then just like that, the customer is going to get a response to their inquiry within just a couple of seconds, and it's the exact email that you approved of with Ruby. So at this point, you might be thinking, I've already seen demos of similar things like this on YouTube. Why are you saying that this is insane? Well, that's where you're completely wrong. Now, in an ideal world, Ruby would be one single AI sales agent that's capable of doing everything with full autonomy. But in 2025 and with current capabilities, AI agents are still not consistent enough in their outputs for you to be able to leave them to communicate with your customers with full autonomy. Just imagine how bad it would be if the AI agent makes an accident. And that's exactly why instead of building a simple agent that looks like this, we had to build Quick Reply Ruby to look like this. And yes, I know it looks like a nightmare and there's a lot of lines and complex data handling going around. But the reason why we did this is because we built Quick Reply Ruby to be a production-ready AI agent today in 2025, not just another demo. I set up Ruby in a way that she will never do anything without your permission. So literally every single time you receive a sales inquiry, Ruby will read that email, create an action plan, and then send the message to your Telegram. And then you can either accept that action plan, so Ruby will go ahead and respond and do things in the real world, or you can give it feedback and within just a couple of seconds, she will send you the next iteration. So with Quick Reply Ruby, you can have the peace of mind of getting back to your customers in just a couple of seconds, but also with the highest quality every single time. Now, even for scenarios where you don't want Ruby to actually respond and you want to do that thing yourself, we gave Ruby a kill switch, which will allow you to take over manually and will stop Ruby right there and then. But speed to lead isn't the only reason why Ruby is absolutely insane. Now, if you guys have been following the world of AI, you know that OpenAI recently released their new series of models, the GPT 4.1 series. Well, let's just say that we're able to set up Quick Reply Ruby in a way that you can get back to 7,000 sales inquiries with less than $1. That's 7,000. Or from another perspective, you can get Ruby to change her action plan and create new drafts 30,000 times with less than $1. Just let that sink in for a second. So with Quick Reply Ruby, you have a 24/7 sales agent that will respond to every single sales inquiry within less than 10 seconds. And with you spending less than $0.0002 or 2/10,000th of a dollar per inquiry. Now, for those of you who are still not convinced on how valuable this actually is, let's just say Relevance AI is selling the automations that I gave you in this video plus the cold email outreach video as their Bosch BDR agent for tens of thousands of dollars to enterprise customers. And as I always do, in this video, I'm sharing it with you for completely free. So over the next 1.5 hours, I'm going to take you through a couple of demos, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on inside Ruby's workflow. And then I'm even going to show you how you can set up Ruby for yourself within just a couple of minutes. So if you haven't yet, go hit that subscribe button and then turn on the bell notification, because this, my friends, is only the beginning. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be releasing some of the most insane automations and AI agents you've ever seen. And best of all, I'm going to be doing it all for completely free. My mission is to make automation accessible to everyone, and I'd love to take you along in the journey. But with that being said, and without wasting any more time, let's get right into the demos and dive deep into the future of the workforce with Quick Reply Ruby. Now, as you guys can see, at 4:12 p.m., I just received an email that says Outreach Automation Inquiry, and it's obviously a sales inquiry. It's saying, "Hi Kia, I've been researching AI automation partners for my marketing firm and your services look relevant. Could we book a call this Wednesday at 11 a.m. Sydney time to discuss how your outreach automation solutions could work for our lead gen process?" Now, as you can see, this is at 4:12 p.m. We've just received a sales inquiry that's basically asking us to book them in for a call. Now, if I open up Telegram, you can see I've got a message from Quick Reply Ruby, which is my AI sales agent. And this message came in at 4:12, which is literally within a couple of seconds of the actual sales inquiry. And as you can see, she's told me the email of the person that's emailed us. She's told me exactly what she's going to do. She's going to book a call and also send out an email confirmation. She's also told me exactly what the customer email was, which is this one here, which I just went through. She's telling me what availabilities we have for that specific day. So there's no existing events on Wednesday, meaning that we're fully available. And then she's went ahead and created a draft for booking in the actual event. So it says event details, call with Alex outreach automation discussion, which is the name of the event. It's going to run from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on the 23rd of April, which as you guys can see would be Wednesday. And she's also sent me the draft email confirmation that she's going to send across to Alex. And the email confirmation says, "Hi Alex, thank you for reaching out and considering Comexa for your AI automation needs. I have checked our calendar for this Wednesday, 11 a.m. Sydney time, and the slot is available. I've scheduled our call for that time to discuss how outreach automation solutions can support your lead generation process. Look forward to speaking with you then." And then literally all I have to do is click on respond, open up the link, scroll to the bottom, and then I can either approve of the sales agent's draft and action so the sales agent actually goes and does that thing, or I can say no, giving it feedback so it actually change what it does, or I can say stop and I'll handle it myself. Now in this case, let's say we're going to give some feedback. So let's click on no, and then let's write down, make it a 15-minute call instead. Because as you guys can see right now, it's going from 11 a.m. to 11:30. But let's say we just wanted to do 15 minutes instead. I'm just going to click on submit. And this was at 4:15. Now, as you can see at 4:15, literally within a couple of seconds, I got the next iteration back from Quick Reply Ruby. And this time, instead of it being from 11 to 11:30, it's from 11 to 11:15 a.m., which is exactly what we wanted. So let's click on respond, open it up. But let's say we're still not happy. Let's say, for example, in the confirmation email, we want to say that someone's going to reach out to you soon with further instructions. So let's just click on no, and I'm going to say add to the email that someone will contact you soon in preparation of the call. So I'm just going to send that through. This was at 4:17. And as you can see, literally within 5 seconds, I got the next iteration back from Quick Reply Ruby. And this time, inside the email, it says someone will contact you soon in preparation for the call. So let's say this time I was happy. I'm just going to click on approve and submit this at 4:17. And then as you can see, within 2 or 3 seconds, the customer actually got the email confirmation that we were just seeing before. And if we take a look at our calendar, you can see that at 11 a.m. to 11:15 a.m., we actually have the consultation booked with the same name and with our email and also the customer's email. So imagine every single time someone sends you any sort of sales email inquiry and wants to book a call, you are able to get back to them within, let's say, a minute or a minute and a half. Now that's the power of this automation. But let's take a look at another demo. Now let's say we just received another email sales inquiry at 4:27 p.m. And this time it says it's a discovery call request. And it's saying, "Hello, Kia. I'm keen to understand how Comexa could help automate our document workflows. Can you share your availability for a 30-minute call tomorrow?" Now, if I open up my conversation on Telegram with Quick Reply Ruby, you can see that I indeed do have a message from her at 4:27 p.m. just within a couple of seconds. And the message is saying that this time she wants to just send out availabilities because as you guys can see inside the actual sales inquiry, the customers actually asked for availability and they haven't told us a specific time slot that we can actually book them in for yet. So the agent was smart enough to recognize that. And as you can see, the agent found that we have a call booked from 11 to 11:15 a.m. tomorrow, which is on Wednesday, which is the call that we just booked with Alex. And then it's created a draft email that it's going to respond with that's going to give the customer options for time slots for a call tomorrow. Now, as you can see, the draft email says, "Hello, Andy. Thank you for your interest in exploring how Comexa can help automate your document workflows. I am available for a 30-minute call tomorrow and can offer you the following time slots. So 10 a.m. to 10:30, 11:15 to 11:45. Please let me know which time works best for you or if you need alternative times." Now, literally all I have to do is click on respond, open up the link, scroll to the bottom, and then let's say if I wasn't happy with the time slots that she gave, I'm just going to say no, and I'm going to tell her to change the time slots. So in this case, I'm just going to say, just provide one time slot at 2 p.m. And then I'm going to send it through. This is 4:29 p.m. As you can see, literally within 4 or 5 seconds, I've now got another draft email that's been sent to me by Reply Ruby. And in this case, she said that we are available for a 30-minute call tomorrow at 2 p.m. And that's exactly what I told her to do. So now let's say we're happy with this. So I'm just going to open up the link, go to the bottom, say approve, and send this across. And literally within a couple of seconds, you can see that the customer receives a reply to their email saying, "Hello, Andy. Thank you for your interest in exploring how Comexa can help automate your document workflows. I'm available for a 30-minute call tomorrow at 2 p.m., which is exactly what we told the AI agent to say. And now let's say the customer responds with, "Great, can you please book me in?" As you can see, within just a couple of seconds, Quick Reply Ruby is going to receive that email and send us a notification on Telegram asking for permission to book in the call and send an email confirmation. So as you can see, the event that she's set up is from 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., which is exactly what we had. That's perfect. The name is 30-minute call with Andy regarding document workflow automation, which is probably not amazing. So I'm just going to tell her that I want to change that to a better name. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say change the name to AI consultation, and I'm going to send that through. And then literally within a couple of seconds, she's going to get back to me with an iteration, and this time the name is AI consultation. So let's say if I'm happy with that, I'm going to open this and I'm just going to approve it and send it out. And if we open up our calendar, you can see that we literally have a call booked in for 2 p.m., which says AI consultation. And I always add my company name at the very end. That's hard coded in. And it's from 2 to 2:30 p.m. and it's with the customer that just emailed us. So if I go back to the customer account and I refresh the page, as you can see, 0 minutes ago, she received an email confirmation saying, "Hi, Andy. Thank you for confirming. I have booked you in for an AI consultation tomorrow at 2 p.m. Sydney time, as previously discussed. Looking forward to our conversation." Now, I hope by now you guys can see just how powerful this actually is. Traditionally, the problem with AI agents is that because they're not accurate enough for them to be able to get everything right in the first go, you wouldn't be able to set up fully autonomous systems that can take over everything. But what I've done is that I've put very specific guardrails around the AI agent so that every time it wants to do something, it's going to ask for your permission before it actually does it. But the reason why this is extremely powerful is that now every time you receive a sales inquiry, whether you're at home or whether you're at work or whether you're having dinner, you're going to get a message on Telegram from your sales AI agent that's literally just going to ask for your approval to respond to the sales inquiry. And if you can pick up your phone and literally just click on yes, you'll get back to that sales inquiry within just a couple of seconds. But as you guys know, not every single email that comes into your inbox, which is a sales inquiry, is going to be for booking a call straight away. So as you can see, we have another sales inquiry, but in this instance, they don't actually want to book in a call. They've asked us a question. So the sales inquiry says they have a question about awareness automation services, and it's from Emily, and she's saying that she saw on our website that we offer awareness automation, and she wants to know if we can tell her a little bit more about what that offering actually entitles. And she's also asking for the ROI metrics that we typically see. So as you guys can see, this is at 4:37 p.m. And if I have a look at Quick Reply Ruby on Telegram, I literally have a notification within a couple of seconds at 4:37 p.m. And this time, you can see that she just wants to reply to the email. She's not actually trying to book anything in or send any availabilities. Now, the email draft that she's prepared says, "Hi, Emily, thanks for reaching out. I'd be happy to share more about our awareness automation offering. At Comexa, this includes automated SEO, content creation and posting, as well as newsletter automation. These services are designed to boost your brand awareness while minimizing manual effort. And then regarding ROI metrics, our clients typically see a 3 to 5% ROI within 3 to 6 months. This comes from improved lead conversion rates, yada, yada, yada." And in case you're wondering, she did not just make all of this up. What has actually happened is that we've given Quick Reply Ruby access to a document that includes all of Comexa's frequently asked questions. And so if we just search for awareness automation, you can see that this is where she got the information about SEO, content creation and posting. And if we search up ROI, you can see that it talks about our ROI metrics, and it says you can see a 3 to 5x within 3 to 6 months, which is exactly what Quick Reply Ruby was trying to say to the customer. So as you guys can clearly tell, this is extremely powerful. You can literally put all of your company's information inside a Google Drive folder, inside a couple of Google Docs, give Quick Reply Ruby access to those documents, and now every time someone sends a sales inquiry, she knows everything about your company and can act like an actual trained salesperson. But let's say in this instance, we're not happy with her response, so we're just going to click on respond. And then the feedback we're going to give her is that we're going to say we want it to be shorter, because obviously not everyone is bothered to read all of that text. So I'm literally just going to say, please make the email more concise. And I'm going to send that through. And then within literally probably about 10 seconds, I received a response from Quick Reply Ruby, which has the iteration. And as you can see, this time the email is a little bit shorter. Now let's say we're happy with this. I'm just going to approve it and click submit. And as you can see, the customer has now received our response back. And it says, thanks for reaching out. Our awareness automation includes SEO, content creation, posting, and the ROI stuff. Exactly how Quick Reply Ruby showed us inside Telegram. Now, I was actually demoing this, so it took me time to try and explain everything. But with that being said, it only took us 4 minutes to get back to a lead. Literally 4 minutes. Do you know how powerful that is? Imagine every single time someone sends you an email, within just a couple of minutes, you get back to them and try to push them to book a call. It's like having a sales team that's super quick and on their inbox 24/7 ready to reply. So I hope these demos are getting you just as excited as they're getting me, because as I said in this video, I'm going to share Quick Reply Ruby with you guys for completely free. But just before I do that, I want to show you guys one more quick demo. So as you guys can see, I just received another sales inquiry, but this time it's from Bill Gates, and he's trying to offer me a $2 million project, and he wants to schedule a call for Monday. So obviously an email from Bill Gates for a $2 million project is probably an email that I want to respond to myself. But if I open up Quick Reply Ruby, she's requesting for us to send back availabilities to Bill Gates. But considering it's Bill Gates and it's literally a massive opportunity, I do not want to let the AI agent respond to him. So literally all I have to do is click on approve and then go to stop human handling. And just by submitting this, what's going to happen is literally nothing, because I just hit the AI's kill switch. And so the AI didn't actually try to respond. And by doing this, what I can do myself now is I can go and manually respond to Bill Gates. And as you can imagine, having this sort of control to be able to take over is extremely important, because there is going to be a lot of emails and a lot of inquiries that you'd probably want to handle yourself. And that's why we've made Quick Reply Ruby in a way where you can literally just tell it to not reply and not do anything, and then you can come and take control yourself. But having Quick Reply Ruby there is still extremely powerful, because every time you receive an email, she's going to send you a notification, and you're literally going to see it on your phone, whether you're sitting on your desk or not. So as you guys saw inside the demos, and also as the name suggests, the idea of Quick Reply Ruby is for you to be able to reply to every single sales inquiry within just a couple of seconds and with minimal effort. And this is building on the importance of speed to lead when it comes to sales. Because every time someone sends you an email as a sales inquiry, they also probably send that email to 4 or 5 or 10 different vendors. And usually the person that replies the quickest is the person that they're going to go ahead with, because if you're waiting 1 or 2 days to get back to them, it's likely that they've already booked a call with someone else, jumped on that call, and they've already closed them. So speed to lead is an extremely important concept, and that's exactly what we're able to achieve with this AI agent. So let's quickly take a look at what's powering Quick Reply Ruby. The entire agent is sitting within one singular workflow, and that's in n8n, which is a no-code platform that allows you to build automations. So as you can see inside the workflow, the first thing that's happening is, let's say every minute or so, we're checking all the new emails that came inside our inbox. And then from those emails, we're only keeping the emails that were inbound, meaning someone has sent that to us. Because obviously a sales inquiry inside your inbox is going to be inbound, and what you want to do is be able to reply to that email. So then what we're doing is we're getting the full thread for that email, meaning we're getting all the previous emails that sit within that same thread. And then what we're doing is we're checking to see if that email is a sales email or not. Because obviously if that's not a sales email, we don't want Quick Reply Ruby to be able to respond to it. Because as I said, Quick Reply Ruby is just an AI sales agent. So then for calls that actually are sales calls, what we're doing is we're figuring out whether that sales call requires for us to do something inside the calendar, or whether it's just a simple reply. And the reason for that is we've actually set up 2 separate AI agents, one capable of handling everything on the calendar, and one capable of handling everything when it comes to replying. So let's say, for example, it decides that it's a calendar agent, then that email, along with all the context and information behind that email, will be sent over to the calendar agent, and the calendar agent will then check the availability for that specific date and also create a draft email, and that information is going to be sent over to us via Telegram with a human in the loop node. So this human in the loop node is basically what we had before with the form, where it allowed us to either approve, iterate, or just say the human was going to be handling it. And so once the human actually gives the response, it goes over to a different place depending on what our response was. So if we approved of it, what happens is, for example, the availability actually gets sent out. If we told it to iterate, it goes back to another AI agent that then revises and sends it back to us, so then we can give it feedback again, and it will keep continuing this loop process of getting feedback and iterating and getting feedback and iterating until eventually we approve. And once we approve, it'll actually do those actions that it suggested. Now, the calendar agent can do 2 things. Let's say, for example, if the email was just requiring for us to check availability for a specific day and it wasn't actually saying exactly what time slot they wanted to book it in, the calendar agent will just send back the availabilities via email. But in the case that the email actually had a specific time slot requested, the calendar agent will check availabilities, and if availabilities were there, meaning that we could book that call in, the calendar agent would actually book it into the calendar and also send an email confirmation just like we saw before. But in the instance of emails that just require for us to send a response back, maybe they're emails where the person needs a little bit more information, what's going to happen is it's going to actually call onto the email agent, which is going to call onto a RAG database, which is basically just a way of the agent to communicate with this frequently asked questions document that we gave it access to. And then once it extracts the information from that RAG database, it will decide whether it has enough information to actually respond to that email itself or not. We didn't actually see this inside the demo yet, but in instances where the sales inquiry requests information that the AI agent doesn't actually have access to inside the frequently asked questions document, what will happen is the AI agent will just escalate that to us with another Telegram message saying, hey, there is a specific sales inquiry. Now, I can't specifically do this task, so go and do it yourself. But in instances where the AI agent is actually capable of handling that situation, meaning that it doesn't need to escalate, what will happen is it will come through to us with a human in the loop node, which is, as you guys remember, quick reply Ruby's messages. And then once we respond back to it, we will either say no. If no, it'll go to revision agent again, which will revise it and go back up and come back in and get feedback again. And it will keep revising it until eventually we say yes. And then once we say yes, it will actually send out the email back to that person. Now, as you guys saw inside the demos, all instances also have a kill switch, which is basically just if we say no, the human wants to take over, it will just cancel and it will go all the way back and then go to the next email. So I know the workflow looks a little bit daunting because there's a lot of lines going between different nodes, but don't worry because I've already set up all the hard parts for you and I'm gonna literally give you the template so you can download it yourself and set it up within just a couple minutes. But just before I show you guys how you can download the template and set it up yourself, I want to share with you something that you're going to find extremely valuable. So for those of you guys who are new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but over the past couple of weeks, I've been releasing a bunch of different automations and AI agents. So just last week, I released an automation that will automate your entire cold email outreach by sending personalized emails. And then about a week and a half before that, I released an AI agent that can literally scrape leads just by you talking to a bot on Telegram. And the idea of what I've built is this fully autonomous sales system that's gonna make you guys a shitload of money. So the first video that I released was called a Lead Generation Joe. And Lead Gen Joe, as I said, is basically just an AI agent that just like Quick Reply Ruby, you can use on Telegram, but you can literally record your voice and just tell it what leads you want to scrape, and then it will go and scrape those leads for you. So you can literally say, for example, I want founders of marketing agencies in Sydney, and then you'd suddenly have a Google Sheet full of 300 leads that have been scraped for you. And then about a week and a half after that, what I released was a personalized outreach automation that literally allows you to grab all the leads that you scraped, put it inside this automation, and then what the automation would actually do is it will go and research each of those leads one by one so it knows literally everything about them, and then it will send them hyper-personalized emails one by one in sequence to try and get them to book a call with you. So the automation can literally send out hyper-personalized email like this one, which will always have a personalized opener that will say something about an information we found about them online that we would only know if we've actually researched them. So for example, in this instance, it says, your work as a founding board member at ARCA caught my attention on LinkedIn, particularly your impressive experience across 5 continents in premium hospitality. So no one would know this unless they've actually gone and read this person's LinkedIn thoroughly. So we send out hyper-personalized emails like this in sequence. So as you can see, we also send another email because they haven't replied, just pushing this back up their inbox. And by doing so, what we're trying to do is we're trying to book them in for a sales call. And also every single email will have a click here to unsubscribe button, so they can literally just click it and unsubscribe. And so the idea of this automation is to be able to send out these one-to-one cold emails at scale, which obviously if you guys know anything about cold email, you know that when the email is hyper-personalized and it's one-to-one, it's gonna convert a lot more. So then all the leads that we scraped by literally talking to a Telegram agent now receive 3 emails that comes inside their inbox that are also hyper-personalized for them. And so with Quick Reply Ruby, which is my newest addition to this team of sales AI agents, what we're doing is that every time someone replies to a cold email, we will get a notification and we'll respond to them in a couple of seconds, keeping that lead hot and engaged and making sure that we're going to maximize our conversions and make as much money as possible. So literally with just the videos that I've released to you guys for completely free, we've been able to scrape leads, send out hyper-personalized cold emails, and also reply to everyone that sends us an email within just a couple of seconds. Now, I hope that gets you guys just as excited as it gets me, because that is truly a glimpse into the future. In a world full of AI agents, you're literally going to have AI agents that take over different departments or divisions of your company, and they'll allow you to maximize your efficiency and scale your business at a fraction of the cost of actually having a big sales team. And for those of you who are small businesses, this is actually the biggest advantage of all, because big companies do have the money and resources to invest in having a 20-person sales team. But for someone that's a small business that's just started out, they obviously don't have those resources. So with these AI agents, they're now capable of competing with the big dogs without actually having an equal amount of resources. And so my mission here is to be able to democratize automation for all business owners. Now, I hope you guys have enjoyed the agents and automations that I've already released, but this is only a glimpse into what I'm actually going to release over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be releasing more agents, and these agents are going to become more and more sophisticated with each video. And best of all, I'm going to be open sourcing everything, meaning I'm going to give you guys access to them for completely free. So if you guys haven't yet, I would really recommend you guys hit that subscribe button and also turn on the bell notification, because the next couple of weeks are going to be absolutely insane. So with that being said, if you guys want to download the template for Quick Reply Ruby or any of my other automations and AI agents, it's all going to be available for completely free inside my free Skool community. All you guys have to do is literally go to my free Skool community. The link is going to be in the description down below. Click on the YouTube resources section, find the post that has the same title as the title of the video, click on that post, and then you're going to have all of the templates attached to the post as .json files. So you can literally just scroll and you'd see all of these .json files. These are each one of the templates. So in the case of Quick Reply Ruby, there's only going to be one .json file, which is one template. You would click on that and then you would click on download. Then after that, all you have to literally do is go on n8n, open up a new workflow, click on these three dots, click on import from file, and then import that .json file that you just downloaded. And straight away, what you should see happen on your screen is that Quick Reply Ruby's entire automation workflow is going to pop up. So then once you've done that, all you literally have to do is follow along with the rest of the video, because I'm going to tell you exactly how you can set it up for yourself and how you can customize it the way you want. Because obviously not every single person wants to use Quick Reply Ruby the same way, and that's the beauty of open sourcing it. I'm giving you guys access, and I'm also going to tell you how you can customize it for yourself. Now, inside the free Skool community, we have team competitions where people basically team up and they build out automations that solve real world problems. And by doing that, not only they make friends, but they also build out automations that they can either implement in their own business or they can sell. We have a tech talk section where people ask all the automation questions that they have, and then everyone else can engage and we can all help each other and learn together. And I try to keep you guys updated with the most important AI news. So literally every time something really important happens, you're going to be the first person to find out. Now, in addition to that, I also give you guys access to a completely free course inside the classroom section, which is going to take you through learning AI fundamentals, learning the fundamentals about AI agents, and then learning how to actually build things on n8n. And then, as I said, I also give you guys access to all of my best automations and AI agents. So I just made this community about 2 months ago, and I really want to hit 10,000 members. So I'd love to see you guys in there. But with that being said, let's not waste any more time and get back to the video. So now that you guys have downloaded the template and imported it into your n8n workflow, you should see something like this. And that's honestly 90 to 95% of the way there. So what I'm going to do over the next couple of minutes is take you guys through every single node and explain exactly what each of them do. And then I'm going to tell you how you can actually customize them to suit your own use case. And I'm also going to tell you how you can set it up for yourself to connect to your accounts instead of mine. But just before I do, I'm going to quickly run one more demo so we can actually go through that demo together. So as you guys can see, 0 minutes ago, we received another sales inquiry, and this one is a request to book a call. As you can see, it says, "Hi, Comexa team. I'd like to schedule a 30-minute consultation on Tuesday, May the 5th at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time to discuss how you can help us automate our lead generation pipeline. Please confirm if that slot works. Looking forward, Sarah." And now if you take a look at Quick Reply Ruby on the left side, you can see that we actually haven't received a notification from her yet. but that's because we actually haven't run the workflow yet. So now let's run the workflow and see exactly what's happening in the back end of Quick Reply Ruby. That sounds super wrong. Anyways, running it, let's have a look. So as you can see, the email comes in and then it's going through all the stuff that I explained before. And then it's going up to the calendar agent because we've obviously been able to identify that this is a request to book a call. So it has to get handled by the calendar agent. So the calendar agent is then checking the availability and also creating a draft email and sending that through to us with the human in the loop node for us to give feedback to Quick Reply Ruby. So on the left side, you can see that the message has already come up. You can see that the prospect is the email address that I sent the email from. The action is to book a call plus email confirmation. So as I said, the AI agent realized that in this case, it shouldn't just send availabilities, but it should actually book the consultation and send us a confirmation email, because inside the sales inquiry, they defined an exact time slot on a specific day. But coming back to Quick Reply Ruby, you can see that she's given us the customer's email, which is basically just the email that she will be responding to. So we have context, so we don't actually have to go back in our inbox and check the email ourselves. She's also given us a previous email section, which in this case is empty because there is no previous emails between us and Sarah. But a little bit later on, I'll show you guys a demo where there is a previous conversation, and then you guys can quickly read those dot points inside the previous email section so you can catch up with exactly what the situation is. And then you can see that we have the availability. So on May the 5th, the slot is free at 2 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., which is perfect. And then you can see that Quick Reply Ruby has created an event draft and also an email draft, just like she always does. The event draft is going to be from 2 to 2:30, which is perfect because that's exactly what we asked for. And the email draft is basically just a confirmation saying, thank you for your request. I've checked our calendar and that time slot is available. I've now booked your consultation and it's going to be in Sydney time. Looking forward to speaking with you then. So that's absolutely perfect. Now, as you can see on n8n, that HITL or human in the loop node is still running because it's actually waiting for us to give feedback to Quick Reply Ruby before it can move on. So in this instance, let's click on respond and then let's give Quick Reply Ruby some feedback. So in this instance, let's say we're not happy and we want to iterate. Let's just tell Quick Reply Ruby that we're not available and she should ask whether the customer is available at 3 p.m. instead. So I'm just going to say, I'm not available at 2 p.m. Ask the customer for 3 p.m. instead. So I'm just going to send that off. And then coming back to the workflow, you can see that what's happening is that's going through the iteration branch, which is sending that over to the revision agent, which in this instance is actually revising the action plan. And then the revision agent actually realized that in this case, it has to go to the bottom branch because now we're actually just sending back an email to confirm availability and we're not actually booking in that call, which is absolutely perfect. So if we come back to Quick Reply Ruby, you can see that we have another notification that came in. Inside this message, you can see that her action plan is now to send availabilities instead of actually booking in the call, which is perfect. So you can see that now she's got a draft email which says, hi Sarah, thank you for your request for a 30-minute consultation on Tuesday. I wanted to check in with you regarding your availability. Unfortunately, I am not available at 2 p.m., but can offer you the time slot at 3 p.m. instead. Please let me know if that works. Looking forward to your reply, which is absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to click on respond, and then I'm just going to say that I approve of this and send that through. So then this time, instead of it going through the iteration branch, it actually went through the approval branch and it sent off that availability email. So as you guys can see, the customer actually received an email back from us saying, hi Sarah, thank you for your request to schedule a 30-minute consultation, yada, 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 exactly how we saw before. And if we take a look at the actual email agent, the process of what's happening is very similar. It's going to the email agent, which is basically calling onto that RAG database where it's extracting information in order to answer the query. And then it's figuring out whether it should escalate or not. If it escalates, it will just send us a message. If it doesn't escalate, it will come through with a human in the loop node, which will send us a message from Quick Reply Ruby to get confirmation on whether it's good or whether it's bad. If it was good, we'll approve. It will send off the email. If it's bad, we'll give it feedback. It will iterate, go to the revision agent, and the revision agent will basically just give us a new iteration of that email in line with our feedback. And then it's going to hit the HITL or human in the loop node again, meaning that Quick Reply Ruby is going to send us another message. And then if we accept it, it's going to send off the email. If we ask it to iterate, it's going to go to the revision agent and basically repeat that cycle and keep repeating that cycle until eventually we either accept it or we hit the kill switch, which will allow us to take over ourselves. So with that being said, let's see exactly how we can set this up. So as you can see right now, the first trigger node is a when clicking test workflow trigger node, which is basically saying only run this workflow when we actually click on test workflow. But in practice, obviously you guys don't want to have to come back and click the test workflow button every single time you receive a sales inquiry, because that would obviously defeat the entire purpose of the AI agent. So what you would have in your variation would, instead of this node, be a schedule trigger node. So the idea of the schedule trigger node is that how you will tell the automation to run in specific time intervals. So let's say, for example, if you guys want to be really quick with responding to your sales inquiries, then what you would do is you'd set up this schedule trigger node to actually schedule every couple of minutes. So you just change this to minutes and then change it to maybe 2 minutes. So basically what will happen is every 2 minutes, the workflow will run, which will in turn mean that it will check for new emails and it will try and respond to them. Now, if you guys want to be really quick in replying to your leads, what you can do is change this to maybe every 20 seconds. And then that way, within 20 seconds of you receiving a sales inquiry, Quick Reply Ruby will send you a notification. And then all you have to do is tell it whether you're happy or whether you want to change it. And then you can get back to your lead within less than a minute. But just keep in mind, for those of you who are going to be on the paid plan for n8n, n8n charges you based off the number of runs. So the lower the interval, meaning that the more runs you're actually going to have, the more expensive it's going to be for you. But if you guys want, you can also just self-host n8n, which in turn is obviously going to be practically free. So now that we know exactly how often we want the automation to run, there's one very specific important thing that you guys have to set up before you progress with the rest of the workflow, especially if it's your first time on n8n. So what you have to do is click on these 3 buttons here again, go to settings, and then go to time zones and choose the time zone that's relevant to you. Because later on in the workflow, we're going to give the AI agent access to today's date and time, and you want that date and time to match your actual time zone. So just choose your time zone, click on save, and then let's move on. So now that we've chosen the schedule trigger node and we've also set up our time zone, let's actually get into the workflow. So the first node is checking for all new emails that are coming across to our inbox. And basically what we've defined is that we want to check all the emails that came in within the last 2 minutes, meaning that the emails that were received within the last 2 minutes. So if you guys wanted to change this to check for emails in the last 30 seconds, you'll just change this to 30 seconds. What you'd want to do is make sure that the time interval here matches the time interval in your schedule trigger node. So if you guys are doing every minute, do every minute. If you're doing every 2 minutes, do 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, up to you guys. And then depending on how many emails you guys received, you will change the limit. But for the vast majority of you, I doubt you're getting more than 100 sales inquiries within every 2 minutes. Because if you are, you're very rich, and I'd probably recommend just hiring a massive sales team instead of actually building an AI agent. Anyways, moving on. So in this node, after you've set up the limit and defined the received after to be the same as your scheduled trigger node, all you guys have to do is actually connect to your Gmail address. All you have to do in order to do that is literally just click on create new credential. And then once you've clicked on create new credential, you can literally just click on sign in with Google and sign in, and then you'll be connected to your Gmail address. Just like that, super easy. So as you can see, this node actually gives an output, which is the actual email that you received inside your inbox. So the snippet, which is like a shortened version of the actual email body, says, "Hi, Comexa team, I'd like to schedule a 30-minute consultation on Tuesday," which is exactly the same email that we sent off as a sales inquiry a couple minutes ago. So then once this email comes in, what we're doing is we're just running a bit of custom code, which is just fixing the from section, because as you can see, the from section has the name of the person before the actual email address. And realistically, the only thing that we care about is the email address. And also for consistency, it's better like that, because a lot of times it wouldn't actually have their name before the email address, and we want to make sure that we're accounting for every single edge case. So basically what this code is achieving is it's just removing that name and just outputting the email address. So if I go to the bottom here, you can see that the from changed from demo email address to just email address. And this is going to be significant in the next node. Now over here, you guys don't have to change anything, so just leave it as it is. So in the next node, what we're actually doing is we're filtering all the emails to only grab the emails that are actually inbound, because obviously we're trying to reply to people when they make a sales inquiry. So to do this, what we've done is we've checked the from and made sure that the from is actually from our email address. So in this instance, I've actually got my actual email address. So to set this node up, all you guys have to do is change that email address with your own email address. So then once you do that, what will happen is, let's say if 20 emails come in from the new emails node, it will check which ones are inbound and it will kick out all the ones that are actually outbound, meaning that you've sent the email to them. So then once it actually filters the email, what it's doing is it's trying to get the entire thread of that email, because a lot of times these emails are going to be replies to cold emails that you've sent out. And in the instances where it's a reply to a cold email that you've sent out, there's obviously a history behind that email. And the idea of this node is to be able to pull in the emails that you sent them in conjunction with the email that they sent you. So to actually make this more meaningful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one more demo to show you exactly what I mean. So as you guys can see, in this instance, we've actually sent out an outbound cold email campaign trying to get this person as a customer. And we did this using personalized outreach Owen, which is the cold email automation workflow that I told you guys about before. So as you guys can see, it basically has a personalization at the top, and then it actually has the body of the email. And then another follow-up email was sent saying, just pushing this back up your inbox because the cold lead didn't actually reply yet. And then moving further, you can see that we also sent another
follow-up request because they still hadn't replied. Now, as I said, this one is fake because this one is from myself to myself. So as you guys can see, this one is my actual demo account, which I'm using to showcase the fake customer. You can see that we've received these 3 emails, but we haven't actually replied yet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to reply acting as if a cold lead's actually replying to our cold email campaign. And we're going to say, hey, Kia, thanks for reaching out and for the persistence. I'm happy to hop on a quick 15-minute call on Thursday at 11 a.m. Sydney time. Cheers, Chris. So as I said, this one is basically just fabricating a reply from an actual cold lead. And then inside our actual inbox, you can see that now we have a response to the 3 cold emails that we sent out from the customer, which is saying, hey, Kia, thanks for reaching out. Let's try and book something in for a 15-minute call on Thursday at 11 a.m. So now if I come back to Quick Reply Ruby and I test the workflow again, you can see that it's going to run, go to the calendar agent, and then Ruby's going to hit us with a notification saying it wants to book a call. It's saying that 11 to 11:15 a.m. is free, so it's actually booking in that call and also sending us a draft email. Well, in this case, let's just accept it and click on submit. And then just like that, as you can see, we now have got that call actually booked in and the customer received the confirmation email. So now coming back here, I wanted to show you guys what it actually means to grab the full thread. So as you can see in this instance, that one email is coming in. So as you guys can see, it's the email that we just sent saying, hey, thanks for reaching out and for the persistence. I want to book it in at this specific time, which is the email that the customer had sent us. And then that went up and you can see one email. So you can see it in the items here. One email turned into 4 items, meaning it also grabbed the previous emails inside that specific thread. So in this instance, the previous emails were the 3 emails that we sent. So this one, and this one. And then once it grabbed all of those emails, it basically gave them all out one by one. So we've got 4 items here. So then in the next node, what I did is I defined a bit of custom code that's basically going to grab every single email that's within the same thread and put it inside a nice format like this, where it's actually all back inside one item. So now you can see 4 items, which is 1 email each, turned into 1 item, which is that entire thread. And the actual data says that we have the thread ID, and then we have the actual emails. And inside the emails, you can see the first email was the first email that we sent. It's from the rep. The message is, hey, Chris, yada, 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 which is the first cold email that we sent out. Even says the actual date that it was sent out on. The second email was also from the rep, which is the pushing back up your inbox email. And the third email was also from the rep saying pushing this back up one more time. And then the final email was from the customer saying, hey, thanks for reaching out and for the persistence. Happy to hop on a quick 15-minute call. So now we basically have grabbed all of the emails within that thread and turned it into one single item that we can pass on for the AI agent to handle. So then again, the only thing you guys have to set up here is just click this and choose the Gmail account that you just created or the credential that you just created. So then moving on, what we're doing is we're grabbing the emails inside that thread and we're combining it with a bunch of other data that we had from the new emails node. So the new emails node has the email address and also the message ID. But then this one up here has the thread ID and the actual emails. So then in the merge node, what we're doing is we're basically merging these 2 data points and matching them based on their thread ID. So we're basically saying, check for the thread ID of this one, which is this one here, find it inside this one, and then for the thread ID that you find, combine the data points together. Now, as you guys can see, in the output, we not only have the emails, but we also have the email address, the thread ID to match, and also the message ID. So realistically over here as well, you guys don't have to do anything, but I just wanted to explain what we've built out here to get the actual data that we require to be passed on to the AI agents. So then moving on, what we're actually doing is we're checking to see whether it's a sales email or not. Now this one's super simple prompt that I've written out inside OpenAI. It just says you work at Chemexa, you're responsible for categorizing inbound emails as sales emails or not. To do this, you must read through the thread and basically just identify whether it's a sales email or not. Your output should be in this JSON format, which is basically just saying decision, sales, not sales. And then you guys can have a read through the rest of it as well. It's not super important. Probably wouldn't recommend changing this. The only thing you change inside this prompt is just to change this first part that's saying you're a salesperson inside Chemexa, because obviously that's my company, not yours. So just change it to say you're a salesperson inside whatever your company name is. And then in this instance, I've got it hooked up to OpenRouter, but you guys don't have to hook it up to OpenRouter. You guys can just hook it up to OpenAI. All you guys have to do is click on create new credential, which is basically going to bring up this thing where you can add your API key. And then all you have to do is get an OpenAI API key, which is super simple to do. Just go and search up Playground OpenAI and then go inside Playground OpenAI and just create a new API key and add credits. Grab that API key, come back here, paste it in, and you're ready to go. So it's very simple to do. But moving on, what's happening is then we're just turning that into JSON. So you can see in this instance, it decided that this is indeed a sales email. And then that data from this was merged back with the data that we had before. But this time the merge didn't happen by matching a specific parameter. It just happened by the position. So let's say, for example, if we had 4 items coming from up here and we had 4 items coming from down here. So the first item here and the first item here got combined together. Second item and second item got combined together. Third item, so on and so forth. Now, again, you guys don't have to change this, but I also want to educate you on how n8n works as we're progressing. So in this instance, you can see that now we have decision as sales in conjunction with all of the other data points that we also defined before. So then moving on, this is where it gets a little bit scary and a little bit complex, because you can see we've got all of these different strings and lines going from one place to another, which is basically just our way of handling the data and the logic to make sure that it doesn't actually break every 5 seconds. But don't worry, I'm going to take you guys through exactly how it's set up so you can understand it. And I'm also going to tell you what you actually need to change. So basically, once that data is coming in, what we're doing is we're hitting a loop over node, which is basically just grabbing each item and looping over it one by one. So let's say in an instance where instead of just one email inquiry that came in within that last minute, we had like 5 email inquiries. What's happening is it's grabbing these one by one and taking it through the AI agent workflow so that it will respond to it one by one. So instead of it sending 5 emails across all at once, first one will come in, AI agent will create an action plan, request from you to do it. If you say yes, then the second item will come in, and then the third item will come in, and the fourth one, and the fifth one, and all of the items after that. And the reason why I've done it this way is to just make sure that the system is robust and the AI agent isn't actually making mistakes because you're giving it 4 items all at once. So then once the first item or the first email along with its thread is actually coming in, we're hitting a if statement to say if it is a sales email, then go up. If it is not a sales email, then go down. Because obviously for like support emails and that sort of stuff, Quick Reply Ruby isn't meant to handle it because Quick Reply Ruby is a sales agent. So we don't really care about the ones that are false. We only care about the ones that are true. So if it was false, what's actually happening is it's going back up into the loop, meaning that the first item is then going to be finished and then the second item is going to come down. So now that we've defined that the email is definitely an email that has to be responded to by Quick Reply Ruby, what we're doing is we're basically taking it on with the rest of the workflow so we can feed it to the AI agents and do all the crazy things that you guys saw before. So the first thing that has to happen is that we need to fix the formatting for the previous emails into a format that's actually readable for the AI agent and also for the human. Because if I come back here and I show you guys what the thread actually looks like, Gmail sends us email data in a way that is not readable really, because what it does is it puts the new email, which is this one here. So just pushing this back up, blah, 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 blah. Kind regards, Kia. That's the actual email. So this one here. But then at the bottom of that, it's also putting all the other emails as history. And then it does that for each email, which is very annoying because you're getting multiple of the same email coming in. And ideally, you don't want to have to send across 10,000 tokens to the AI agent when it doesn't actually need that much data. So what we're doing instead is that we're passing it through to a very cheap AI node, which in this case is just using GPT-4.1 mini. And that AI node is basically just reformatting those emails into a more meaningful structure. So what it's doing is it's grabbing all of those emails inside the email history and it's turning it into these 2 data points. So the first one is a new prospect email, which basically just grabs the actual email that the person just sent us. So that's the final email, the actual sales inquiry we want to respond to. And then it grabs the previous emails and it summarizes it in a nice dot point format so that the actual human agent can read it very easily. And if we come back here and have a look at Quick Reply Ruby, you can see that that nice dot point format is here. So instead of you having to read like 1,000 emails inside that thread, you'll just scan through these dot points and you'll know exactly what the history or the context of that conversation actually is. So then you can tell the AI agent whether what it's trying to do is actually good or whether you want it to change. So I'll probably let you guys read the prompt for this one yourselves as well, but it's just a very simple prompt, which is saying, grab those emails and turn it into the data that we're requesting. You probably wouldn't need to change anything here, so I'll just leave it as it is. And then as you guys can see, this node is connected to a brain, which is basically just the AI model that we're actually using to do that thing. So in this case, you'll just connect it to your OpenAI account, the credential that you just added to n8n, and then you will choose the actual model that you want to use. So I'd recommend using something really cheap like 4.1 mini. But if you want, you can even go cheaper and use Nano. And honestly, that would probably still do the job. So then the second thing that this node is actually connected to is a structured output parser. And what this structured output parser basically does is it just tells the AI exactly what the output should look like. So it's basically just saying the output should be in this sort of JSON formatting with two very specific parameters that we want defined. One of them is the new prospect email parameter, and the description for this parameter is the body content of the email received by the prospect, which we need to answer. And the second one is the previous emails, and that's the description of it there. So we're basically just telling the AI agent to put the output in this format, and we're telling it what each of those parameters actually mean. Now, you probably also don't want to change anything here, so leave it as it is. But I just thought I'd educate you guys on exactly what structured output parsers actually do. And then moving on, in the next node, we have a calendar or email node. It's also using an OpenAI brain to make a decision as to whether the calendar agent should handle this scenario or whether it should be the email agent. So as you can see, for this one, I've defined a system message and a user message. So system message is basically just how you define to the AI agent exactly how it's meant to behave. And user message, which is this one up here, is basically just that very specific instance or that very specific task that it has to complete. So in this instance as well, if we take a look at the system message, you can see that it's very simple. It's just basically saying if inside the actual email there's any mention of booking something into the calendar, send it to the calendar agent. If there isn't, send it to the email agent. Now, I probably wouldn't change anything here. And then as I said, the user message is just where we're actually defining that specific task. It's saying a new email just came in. Here's the email, which is what we got from before, the actual new email. And also here's the summary of the thread, which is basically what we created with the previous node. Now, this one's connected to the same brain, so you don't have to build another brain there to keep it simple. But the actual structured output parser in this case only has one parameter that we're defining, and that parameter is calendar, which is a Boolean. Boolean, I can't say that correctly. Boolean is basically just true or false. So the only value could be yes or no, or true or false. And in this case, we're saying it should be true if it's a calendar requesting email, and false if it's a information requesting email. So as you can see, the output would be this one parameter, which is basically just saying, should it go to the calendar agent? If true, then it goes to the calendar agent. If false, then it goes to the actual email agent. So you guys also wouldn't have to change anything here. You'd basically just move on. Then what we have here is a if statement or a switch statement, basically. And basically what this switch statement is doing is it's saying if the calendar is equal to true, go up. If the calendar is equal to false, go down. So up is the calendar agent and down is the email agent. Now, in the case of the calendar agent, this is basically just a standard AI agent that you can build on n8n. Basically, an AI agent on n8n can have access to a brain, which is basically just the way it thinks. It can have access to memory, which is basically just its way of remembering what just happened and remembering its own thoughts and actions. It can have access to tools, which will allow it to actually do things in the real world, which makes it agentic as we speak. It has access to a think tool that it didn't necessarily need, but I wanted to put it in there because I wanted to teach you guys what the think tool actually does. And it has access to a structured output parser, similar to how we saw before. So it actually gives the output in a specific format so we can send it to the rest of the workflow. Now, the AI agent always also has a prompt, which basically just defines its behavior and also tells it the new task that it's meant to actually complete. So you can see that in this instance, we've defined a system message with an overview, tools, and instructions section, which is the right way to do it. Now, if you guys really wanted to go above and beyond, you'll give it an example as well. But I don't necessarily think it needed it for this case because it's not doing a lot of things with different tools. Basically, what I've said is you work in the sales team at Chemexar, which is an AI automation agency. You're particularly responsible for handling calendar inquiries via email. Realistically, all you have to change here is change Chemexar to your business. Say, this is my business name and this is what my business does. So you are a salesperson inside, I don't know, something tire shop which sells tires, right? That might be your business. And then we say when a prospect requests to be booked in for a call, you handle the inquiry by checking availability and creating a draft event and email confirmation. So we're basically just saying create the email and calendar draft once you've actually received a new email. And then we've given it access to the tools, or we basically just defined what tools that it has access to. The first one is the get events tool, and the second one is the think tool. So the get events tool, we're just saying use this tool to check calendar availabilities for the date and time specified in the inquiry. And if we actually look at the get events tool, what the get events tool actually is it's basically just making an API call to your Google Calendar. And what it's doing is it's basically saying, give me the list of all bookings or slots that are actually full within this time period, or basically after this time and before this time. So let's say after this time and before this time. So it's basically just saying, grab all the events that have actually been already booked within this time period. And then if it has access to all the events that actually have been booked, it can find all the time periods that haven't been booked and use that to send availability over to the customer. So then as you guys can see over here, we've allowed it to define the before and after itself. So you can see that it says defined automatically by the model, meaning that the AI agent is actually defining what value the after and before should be. Because every single time a new sales inquiry comes in, the time that they're requesting for a call to be booked in is going to be completely different. So checking the availability, we also have to account for that time, which is also going to be different. So we're basically just telling the AI, hey, you can control exactly what time period you want to check. And we've given it a description to say what this parameter actually is, because basically the AI agent doesn't have like a brain like ours, which understands like how things actually work in practice. It basically just has access to these two parameters, let's say after and before, and it knows that it has to fill them out, but it doesn't actually know what it has to fill them out with. So then we have that description here that says, this one is the day before the date of the user requested, and this one is the day after the date of the user requested. So we're basically just trying to like check all bookings within that sort of 24-hour period time zone. So in this instance, you can see it found all of these events that have already been booked in for that specific time. The event that it found was a sales call. And if I come back to my calendar, you can see that indeed we did have a sales call on that day. So it realized, hey, this time slot is taken. So all of these other time slots are open. And just to connect this, all you guys have to do is click on create new credential and sign into Google just like you did with your Gmail account. So then now the AI agent knows it has access to the Get Events tool. The next tool that we gave it access to is the Think tool. Now the Think tool is a new tool inside n8n, and I just wanted to quickly show you guys like what it actually does. So as you guys can see, the Think tool is this one here. It's basically based off an article Anthropic released some time ago, which was basically just saying like, you can make your AI agent better by getting it to just stop for a second and think. And that's all this Think tool does, is it basically just tells the AI agent in the sequence of steps that it's actually completing to stop for a second, reflect on everything you've done, make sure it's correct, and then move on. Because sometimes the AI can just get lost in the steps and like forget and just start doing random things in continuity, but it would never actually sit down like a human and think, okay, well, what I've done, is that actually moving me towards the objective or not? And because it's not actually thinking, it doesn't know what to do next. So this is actually meant to like handle edge cases and allow the AI to think and increase its accuracy. But for this case, because it's only like one tool, realistically, it's not that important. But I just wanted to put it in here to show you guys how it works. So as you guys can see in this instance, once it actually got the availabilities back from the calendar, it hit the Think tool and stopped for a second and actually thought. And the thought that it had was, Chris requested a 15-minute call on Thursday. From the calendar, there is a confirmed event from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., which is the one that we saw called sales call. But the time slot 11 to 11:15 is actually free. Therefore, the requested time is available, and I can book the call for this time slot and send a confirmation email. So basically, the AI agent checked the availabilities, then it stopped for a second and thought, being like, okay, well, I checked, it's free. What should I do next? I should probably create the calendar event and also create a confirmation email. So basically, that's all the Think tool actually does. It's really powerful in practice for more complex AI agents, but for this one, like, you don't necessarily need it. It's really up to you. But basically, I've just said the Think tool, you should use it to think about what to do next after you get availabilities. And then I've given the AI agent some instructions. Instructions being telling the AI agents how it's meant to behave and how it's meant to handle certain situations. So I just basically explained saying the emails either have a date and a time or just have a date. If they have both a date and time, then you should probably try and check availability. If the availability is available, then you should try and book the call and also send confirmation email. But if the availability is not available or the person hasn't actually given you an exact time period or time slot that they want, then you should just check availability and send an email with the actual availability so that person can choose and you guys can go from there. So that's really what this piece of text is doing. And then I'm just telling it that the time is in UTC plus 10, which is our time zone here in Sydney. So you can see that this is a n8n JSON variable, which is basically just defining the exact date and time right now, which right at this very moment in time is 6:34 p.m. And then all I'm saying is that in the end of the email, you should just sign off as Kia@Chemexa or Kia@Chemexa. So realistically, the only things you guys should change here is number one, change your business description. Number two, change the sign off if you wanted to sign off using your own sign off, like, I don't know, Gerald at this tire shop or wherever it's going to be, whatever your name and your company is. And then you would want to change the time zone to match your time zone. And then that's really all you want to do. So then inside the user message, what we've done is we've actually given it access to the actual new email and also the history that we created in the previous AI node. So it basically knows this is a summary of the thread and this is the actual new email. And then it will grab that information, use the different tools it has access to, and decide whatever it's going to do. And then it's actually going to go and do that thing. So now ideally in a perfect world with AI agents being super capable, you guys would just have a one agent that does both calendar, email, checks to see whether it's a sales call, does everything by itself. And that'll just be one really cool, sick, big agent with multiple tools and a massive prompt and a lot of context window. And it's super smart and it can actually do everything itself. But realistically, as of 2025, as of the day that I'm recording this video, doing something like that isn't actually achievable in practice. I could probably create a pretty cool demo of it working 1 out of 100 times. But if you want to implement it into your own business, you wouldn't be able to just create one agent that does everything. And that's why I've kept the human in the loop and I've defined that very complex piece of logic to make sure that we're actually building a system that's using AI agents, but also keeping the human in the loop so we can make sure that every single output is exactly as good as we want it to be. And honestly, from a development perspective, building the one agent would have been 1,000 times easier for me. But I wanted to build a system for you guys that you can actually use in practice in your business today with the current AI capabilities. But that is not to say that within the next 6 months, year and a half, this wouldn't completely change. And honestly, if it does change and AI agents become really capable and we can just build it with one singular node, trust me, I will update this and I'll release it out to you guys again, completely free. But for the time being, it's probably better to keep this very robust bit of complex logic handling. But coming back to the actual calendar agent, the structured output parser is defining what outputs we want. So you can see we've got the email body, which is the email body of that email that we want to send back to the person, whether that's a confirmation email after booking a call, or whether that's just an email saying, hey, here are the availabilities, tell me which one works for you. We've got the event name, start time, end time, which is basically just the 3 parameters that we need in order to actually create a calendar event. And I've defined what each of them are inside the actual structured output parser. I've also told the AI agent that if it's the case that it isn't actually booking in a calendar event, then you can just leave these parameters empty. So it knows that too. And then I've defined another Boolean, which is basically just saying whether it's actually booking a call, yes or no. If it's booking a call, it's going to output true. And if it's not, it's going to output false. And that's going to define the logic later on in the workflow. And then at the very end, it's basically just giving us the calendar availabilities for that specific day. So then we can pass this on to the revision agent. So the revision agent doesn't actually need access to your calendar again. Now, with that being said, all of this information is recorded here and it's being passed on to a edit field node. Now, this edit field node is basically just grabbing those pieces of data and it's just outputting it in the same exact way. And there's a very specific reason why I had to do this. If you guys are n8n experts and you've worked with n8n a lot, you would know that JSON variable always just pulls in what's coming from the node before it. So basically in this instance, it would always pull in what's coming from the calendar agent. So even if we go to the revision agent and the revision agent wants to come back up and go to the human in the loop again with the new parameters, it wouldn't actually be using the parameters from the revision. It would still be using the parameters from the calendar agent. So what we've had to do is we've had to set up this edit fields node, which basically just says, just grab the data from the node that just ran. So whether that's coming from down here from the revision agent, or whether that's coming from the calendar agent. And basically what that means in practice is the first time it's going to grab it from the calendar agent, and then every time it goes through a revision, it's going to grab it from the revision agent. It's as simple as that, but it's extremely important. Now coming over here, you guys don't have to change anything, so leave it as it is. Then moving on, what we're doing is we're just defining an if statement to say whether we're trying to book a call, yes or no, and that's what was defined by the AI agent. If we are trying to book a call, it will go up. If it's not, it will go down. So as you guys can see, if it goes up, it's going to end up with booking a call and sending a confirmation email. If it goes down, it's going to end up just sending the availabilities. But before it actually gets there, what it's doing is it's hitting a human in the loop node, which is the extremely important part of this workflow that's going to make sure that you can actually use this AI agent as of today in 2025. So with the human in the loop node, I've decided to use Telegram, but realistically, there is a couple of different HITL or human in the loops that you guys can use in n8n. All you have to do is click on this plus button, come have a look at human in the loop, and then you can see the different channels that you can use to send out those notifications to yourself. There's Discord, there's Gmail, there's Google Chat, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Teams, email, Slack, Telegram, and WhatsApp. Realistically, you guys can swap these out for whichever one works best for you. But I've realized that Telegram is the best one for me. And honestly, a lot of people use Telegram. So I just thought I'd put Telegram in here. But basically what this node is doing is it's sending a message and waiting for the response. So instead of just sending out that message on Telegram, it's sending it out and it's waiting for a response to come back in from the actual feedback URL that it sends through with that message, if that kind of makes sense. So then also over here, because we're using Telegram, you guys have to connect yourself to Telegram. Now doing this is also pretty simple in practice. I'm going to walk you through exactly what you're meant to do. You want to click on this button, you want to go to create new credential, and then it's going to ask you for an access token so it can actually connect to your Telegram bot. But at this very moment in time, unless you guys have built n8n workflows before this, you probably don't have a Telegram bot yet. So let me tell you how you can build your own version of Quick Reply Ruby on Telegram. Basically, what you guys want to do is you want to go to Telegram and you want to find Botfather. If you want to find Botfather, you can just click on the search button at the top of your Telegram account and search for the username Botfather. And it's this Godfather looking bot. And then what you want to do once you have Botfather up is just click on Start. And then Botfather is going to come back with an instruction manual. What you want to do is click on New Bot because you want to create a new bot. It's going to say, all right, a new bot. What are we going to call it? Choose a name for the bot. In this case, let's say Quick Reply Ruby 2.0. So that's the name for our bot. Perfect. Now let's choose a username for the actual bot. So let's just say Quick Reply Ruby 2_bot. And it's going to say congratulations. And just like that, our new bot has been created. Now all we have to do is click on this link and that will take us to Quick Reply Ruby 2.0. But with this being said, this still is not connected to your n8n. So now you just have to connect Quick Reply Ruby to n8n. And to do that, it's very simple. All you have to do is go back to Botfather. And as you can see, Botfather actually gave you an access token, which is this one here. You want to click on that, go back to n8n and paste that access token in here. And just like that, you've now connected yourself to the bot created on Telegram. So then just to lock in the deal, you just want to click on save and then you will connect yourself to your Telegram bot. And just as simple as that, you've created a Telegram bot and you've connected n8n to that bot. And then moving on, we have to define the actual chat ID, which is the ID of the chat that bot actually has access to. So the bot knows who it's actually meant to message. To do that, what you guys want to do is go to another bot called getIDbot. So just go back up to the search and search up get_ID_bot. And then click on start. And then it's going to say, cool, your chat ID is this. So that's your unique chat ID for your Telegram account. So then you just want to copy that chat ID and then come back in here and paste that chat ID into your n8n instance. So then moving on, we're now defining the actual message that we want to send across to get feedback. The message, as you guys can see, has the prospect, the action, the previous emails, custom email, availabilities, event details, and draft email. You don't have to change anything, but it's basically just grabbing the data points that we had before and it's sending it across inside the human in the loop. And the output of that, as you can see over here, is exactly that message. So then we've also defined what we want to actually have inside the form. So in the form, you guys saw we had the approve button, which had 3 options, yes, no, or human handling. And we also had the feedback, which allowed us to give text feedback. Now, if you guys want to add more things to the form, you can just add it here, and then you would have to just define how that's going to be handled inside the rest of the workflow. But moving on, once the human in the loop actually responds to us, what we have is both an approve and a feedback, which is basically just the data points that we've defined inside the actual form. And then what's going to happen is it's either going to approve it, it's going to ask to iterate it, which means it's going to give us feedback and it's going to say no, or it's going to say, no, I want to handle it myself as a human, and it's going to go down here. In the case that it approves it, what's going to happen is we're just going to send out an actual calendar invite straight away. So what we're saying is that for the starting time of the calendar invite, take the start time from the AI agent. For the end time, take the end time from the AI agent. For the actual attendees, one of the attendees is obviously me. So in this instance, you guys want to change this email address to your own email address. So it puts you as an attendee inside the calendar events that it creates. And if you guys have multiple team members that you want to be there, just click on add attendees and add yourself in as attendees to the actual calendar events. And then for the additional attendee, which is going to be the customer, we're just pulling the actual email address of that customer from the node that we had before, which was the loop over items node, which is the first node where the loop actually started, if that makes sense. And then as for the summary, which is basically just the name of the actual event, we've defined the name to always be the actual name that the AI agent defines, -Chemexa. So I've just hard-coded -Chemexa over here. You'd probably want to change Chemexa to your own business name. And if you guys have any specific naming conventions, you'd define it inside this specific part of the Google Calendar node. So once you've already connected to Google Calendar before, all you guys have to do is over here, just choose that credential and you're set up, ready to go. So then this feedback message is basically just confirming that everything finished and it's going back. You don't necessarily need this here, but I thought I'd put it in here for neatness. But in the case that it wants to iterate, this is the interesting part. What's actually going to happen is it's going to go to a revision agent. And now this revision agent is basically responsible for grabbing the drafts that the previous calendar agent actually created and combining that with the feedback that you got from the human, and then giving a new output, which will go back to the human for feedback again. So as you guys can see, this is also just a AI agent node, and the AI agent node basically has access to a brain, which is just the model that it's using to think and actually be able to do things. And it also has access to a structured output parser, which is basically just saying what the output format should be. And the reason why we have it connected to a structured output parser is because, as I said, that's going back here, and then it's replacing the previous inputs that we got from the calendar agent, because now we've iterated, if that makes sense. So to look at the revision agent, it obviously has a user message and also a system message, which is defining how it's behaving, and also the task that has come up with that specific instance of getting feedback from the manager or the human agent. So in the system message, it's basically just saying you work in the calendar department or the sales team for Chemexa. So in this instance, you just want to change it to your own business. And then it's just explaining exactly what would be happening. So it's saying the request comes in, the manager didn't accept it. Your job is to go and change in line with the manager's feedback and then give that back so that manager can actually check it again. So then I've just given it access to the same thing, saying this is the time zone. So we're in Sydney. This is the actual time, and this is what you should sign off as. So just change these three and leave everything else as it is. And then for the user message, I've basically just defined the name, start time, end time, which is the drafts coming in from the calendar event, the confirmation email body, and the manager's requested changes. So don't worry about all the red triggers that it's actually giving over here. That's just because in this instance, it didn't actually run the revision agent. So it's just saying, oh, I don't know where I should actually look, but it will work in practice. Don't worry about it. You would basically just leave all of this as it is, and you wouldn't want to really change anything. So for the structured output parser, we've basically just defined the output that we want to get, which is just the same data points that we're passing in again to the human in the loop so we can get feedback again. Now, in the case that the human decides to kill switch, or basically just say, I want to handle it myself, as you can see, what happens is it goes straight back all the way to the loop node, meaning that now it's going to go to the next email and it's not going to continue on with that email. So nothing is actually going to be sent out. Nothing is actually going to be created. All it's going to do is just ask for your permission, and you're going to say no, and then you can go and do it yourself. And having this in practice is also very important, because a lot of the times you want to actually handle things yourself. So then also a cool piece of logic that I've defined here for those of you who are n8n experts, where basically once this comes back, it's going back to the edit fields node, and then we're checking to see if it's booking a call again. Because as you guys saw in a previous demo, sometimes the AI might say, I want to book the call, but you're not actually available at that time, although your calendar might say so. So you might tell it to just send availabilities or just send an email instead. So then after we give the feedback, the AI will then send that information over to an if statement, which will then again check if it should still go up and try send the calendar invite, or if we should just go down and send the availability. So that's kind of like a more advanced technical thing that you don't necessarily have to worry about, but I thought I'd let you know anyway. And then for the human in the loop for the second one, we've got the same thing. So you just want to choose your credential and then leave everything else exactly as it is. Just make sure the chat ID is your chat ID and everything else exactly as stated. And then we've got the same thing. So we're making a decision as to whether it's approved, whether it needs to iterate, or whether the human is just going to kill switch it. So with the approved ones, what we're doing is we're sending out the availability. We're making sure that we're sending it in the same exact thread, which is basically just making sure that it's going to be a reply to that email as opposed to like a whole new email itself. And then we're defining what that exact message ID is that we're applying to. So as you guys can see in every instance, when we reply, it replies to the actual sales inquiry itself, and it doesn't actually send like a separate email itself. And then we're defining the actual message of that email, which is the body of the email. And then after that, for neatness, I've just got a success message, but you don't necessarily need that. This is more for when you guys use an AI agent and you got multi-agent systems, but don't worry about it for now. So realistically, that was everything in terms of the calendar agent. Super simple to set up. Honestly, I explained everything, but if you wanted to just go through it and just change the nodes that you have to, it will probably take you like 2 minutes, max 3 minutes, 4 minutes to actually set it up yourself. But I think in case you guys want to modify it, it's important for you to understand everything. So I wanted to make it both educational and also give you the template. Now, with that being said, I'm going to run one more demo, and this demo is actually going to go down to the email agent just so I can show you guys exactly what's happening when it actually goes down to the email agent instead. Now, I know you guys are probably tired by now, and this tutorial is a very in-depth one, but trust me, this is a very important tutorial for you to watch through and learn and understand. And also the template that I'm giving you access to is definitely worth watching through until the end. So if you've come this far, I would really recommend watching until the end. There's not much left now. We're almost done. With that being said, let's get back to the video. So as you guys can see, this is another sales inquiry that was received 0 minutes ago. it says AI chatbot integration question. Hi, I represent a mid-sized e-commerce brand looking at adding a AI chatbot to our website for customer support and cross-selling. A few quick questions. Do you offer pre-built chatbots or only custom ones? How do you price these kind of projects? And what's your typical implementation timeline? So now if I come back here and run the workflow again, you can see that it's going to run exactly how we expected before. And then it's going to go down to the calendar agent. And then it's going to hit the human in the loop node, which is going to wait for our response. So in this instance, you can see that the AI is saying it wants to reply to an email. There is no previous conversation, so that's empty. It's saying this is the customer email. This is the draft that it's created, which is basically just saying we offer both pre-built plug and play. Our pricing can be fixed price, and the typical implementation timeline is about 2 to 4 weeks. And if we take a look at the actual Chemexa FAQs and we search these things up like plug, you can see that we have that exact same thing here for a plug and play. If we search up 2, we can see that it says how long does it usually take, 2 to 4 weeks or 6 to 12. And so basically what has happened is the AI agent has called onto that Google document and searched it and then grabbed that information in order to be able to actually answer the query. As you can imagine, this is extremely powerful in practice because you can add more and more Google documents and give your AI agent access to literally all of it and then just get it to query those different documents in order to be able to answer any sales inquiry that comes in within a matter of seconds. Now let's quickly just click on respond. So in this case, I'm not going to approve it and I'm going to say just ask them to book a call with a sales consultant. That will answer all their questions next Monday and ask for their availability. So I'm basically saying don't answer all the questions that they've asked you. Just say, let's book a call and we'll go over everything one by one. And honestly, in sales, that's a pretty common tactic that a lot of people use because if you can get them to the call, there's more of a chance that they're interested and there's more of a chance that you can actually close the deal. So you might want to do that. We'll just send submit. And then as you can see, what will happen is it will go down through the iterate, hit the revision agent, and then it'll come back with a revision. So as you can see, the new draft email says, thank you for your interest in AI chatbot solutions. To ensure all your questions are thoroughly answered, we'd like to schedule a consultation call with one of our sales consultants next Monday. Could you please let us know your availability on that day? Now, something really cool inside of the email agent is I've also taught it to define exactly what the reasoning behind saying what it's saying actually is. Because a lot of the times you might not know every single thing that's inside the FAQ document. And so by it defining its reasoning, you kind of know where it got that information from. So in this instance, it's saying the manager requested a more concise email. And this is basically just defining the reasoning for the actual feedback. But in the previous iteration, you can see that the reasoning was actually defining exactly why it decided to answer the question the way that it did. But with that being said, this time, let's just show you guys what the kill switch actually looks like. Let's say stop. And then send that through. And then as you can see now, this time it hits the kill switch, which is going to go all the way back and go back to the next email by going back to the loop over items node. So taking a closer look, once we've actually defined that the email needs to go to the email agent, it's going to come down and go to an AI agent that we've defined that has access to a vector database so it can use with RAG. Now, for those of you guys who don't know what RAG is, there's 2 concepts that you guys can use here. Number 1, it's the concept of RAG. And number 2, it's the concept of CAG. Now, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And basically what RAG means is that it allows the AI, so let's say if this brain was the AI, to be able to use an external database in order to answer questions without having to have that entire external database inside its actual prompt or inside its actual brain. So let's say every time a new question comes in to the actual AI agent, the AI agent might not have access to the information to answer that question inside its prompt or inside its context. And so what it will actually do is it will search through that external database, and that external database will basically just say, hey, these 3 bits of information are relevant to your search query. And then using the information that it grabbed for the database, it will basically create an answer and answer you. So a retrieval is the process of retrieving these bits of information. Augmentation is the process of combining the actual data that it pulled with its actual task or its actual prompt or the question in order to be able to answer the question. And then generation is once it has this combination of information, it has enough information to actually generate the output back to the user. So in super simple terms, it's just a way of getting the AI agent to be able to access a whole bunch of data without you having to actually physically put that data inside its prompt. Because generally when you pay for a large language model, which is this like brain here, which is actually like the brain behind an AI agent, you pay based off how many words you input and how many words it outputs. So the more that's inside the prompt, the more words you're actually inputting, So the more expensive the AI agent's going to be. So by using RAG, what you're doing is you're only inputting the data that's actually relevant, and you're not inputting the entire Google Doc every single time, if that kind of makes sense. Now, the second concept is CAG, or context augmented generation. Now, this is the opposite. In this case, the brain wouldn't go and query a database. Instead, you'll just grab all the different documents and you'd put it inside the actual prompt. Now, in this instance, it's obviously a lot easier to set up from a development perspective. But as I said, because the amount of input tokens you're putting into each prompt or each request you're sending over, the AI agent is going to cost a lot more. Because think of it this way. If I were to ask the AI agent, for example, what our refund policy is, the prompt or the input into that large language model isn't just what is our refund policy, it's what is our refund policy. Here is all of the documents that we have access to. So like, let's say 1 million tokens are being sent in without you actually needing those 1 million tokens. So this is going to be more expensive. But as we're getting models that have bigger and bigger context windows, like GPT 4.1 that just got released has 1 million token context window, which means like it probably has like, I don't know, like 700,000-ish words inside its context window. In that instance, then as we get to models that are cheaper and cheaper, it probably is better to just give the AI access to all the data, because then you can also identify patterns inside that data and answer questions that you probably wouldn't be able to do with RAG. So it might increase the accuracy a little bit later on. But right now, it will decrease the accuracy because number one, the bigger the prompt, the less accurate the model. And number two, it's also going to cost you guys a lot more. So for now, we're sticking to RAG. But in the future, we probably want to do CAG. And I know RAG and CAG are just weird things to say, but that's just the industry that we work in. But now let's get back to the email agents node, and let me tell you guys exactly how we're able to build this RAG database, or in actual terms, the vector database. So basically what is happening is we have a Google Drive folder called demos. And then inside this Google Drive folder, we have that one file, Chemexa FAQs. Now, what we've done is we've set up a workflow called upload file to knowledge base, which basically every single time you guys upload a new file into that Google Drive folder, this workflow will automatically grab that file, it will download it, it will extract the text from that file, and then it will upload it into your Superbase vector database. Or in super simple terms, every time you upload a file into the Google Drive, it will grab it and put it inside the vector database or the knowledge base for your actual AI agent. Now, we've already set this up, and I don't want to go through this with too much detail, but I will give you guys access to this workflow here as well. Basically, all it is the first thing you have to do is set up a Google Drive trigger node. The Google Drive trigger node will basically just trigger every single time a new document is uploaded, just like I explained. What you have to do is you have to connect yourself to Google Drive, which is actually a massive pain in the bum. But to do this, all you have to do is click on create new credential, and then it's going to ask for a client ID and client secret. Now, if you guys don't know exactly how to set this up, which I honestly don't expect you to, click on open docs. And then as you can see, n8n walks you through exactly how to set this up. So basically, in simple terms, what you guys have to do is set up a Google Cloud Console and then set up a client ID and client secret so that you can use it in order to be able to connect yourself to n8n. I'm not going to go through it, but it's defined step by step here. So literally just as long as you guys sit here, read every single step and just go and do it one by one, you'd probably get it done in like 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes. But then once we have connected ourselves to Google Drive, you don't have to worry about everything else. The only thing you want to do is come here and choose that credential as well. And then what you'd want to do is you want to set up the Superbase vector store. So the vector store is basically just a vector database, which in very simple terms is basically just the actual knowledge base of the AI agent. Now, the reason we're using a vector database is vector databases allow you to search through documents based off not just a specific keyword match, but also based off meaning. So let's say, for example, coffee and cafe and maybe, I don't know, eggs on toast, all three of these have like similar context because they're kind of similar in terms of what they mean. Now, if you guys were just doing CTRL-F in a document and actually searching through that document to find a keyword, if you were to search up coffee, cafe wouldn't come up as a match. But in a vector database, if you search up coffee, cafe also comes up as a match because in terms of meaning, it's close to each other. So inside a vector database, we have chunks of words or a bunch of words being turned into numbers based off their actual meaning. So let's say a sentence gets grabbed and it goes and turns into like coordinate, I don't know, 2, 1, whatever, 3, 3, 3, whatever it is. So that chunk of text or that basically, let's say sentence gets turned into a number, and then another sentence also gets turned into a number, but the proximity of that sentence to this sentence in terms of meaning would also be reflected inside the vector database. So if these two are both talking about like cafes, then they'll be pretty close to each other. And then once you're actually using the AI to search through that vector database, because we're using numbers and proximity, what we can technically now do is find things that don't necessarily mean the exact same thing, but are still in proximity to each other, meaning that they are potentially related, so they're valuable for us to bring in. So in super simple terms, always use vector databases if you guys have free text. But anyways, to set yourself up on Supabase, it's also extremely simple. First thing you want to do is just set up a Supabase account, which is completely free. So you want to just search up supabase.com, set up your account. Once you set up your account, you will see something like this, which will allow you to create a new organization. You should create a new organization. Once you're inside that organization, it would look something like this. Go to project settings, and then you want to go to data API. And then inside your data API, you can see that there is a URL. So you want to copy that URL and then come back to Supabase, click on create new credential, and then pop in that URL over here as a host. And then all you need is your service role secret. So you want to just reveal that and copy that, and then come back to n8n inside the Supabase credentials and pop that in here. So you just need that URL and also the service role secret. Click on save and you should be connected. So then before you can move on, you also have to do one more thing. That's going to the SQL editor or the SQL editor. Once you're inside there, you want to put in this bit of code and click on run. And then once you click on run, it should come up with something like no rows found or something like that. And if it does, then you're ready to go. And don't worry, I'm going to give you guys access to this code inside the free Skool community as well. So you guys can literally just copy this and paste it in here and be ready to go in maybe a minute or two. So then in this instance, the operation that we're using is we're inserting a document. The query name is matching document, so leave it exactly as it is. For the embeddings model, which is basically just being used to convert text to numbers, just use text embedding 3 small. And then for the data loader, you basically just want to leave it exactly as it is. And recursive character text splitter, which is basically just defining how many characters we're putting inside each chunk that's going inside the database. You would also want to leave it as it is. But just to quickly tell you guys what chunk size and chunk overlap means. So chunk size and chunk overlap is basically just a way of us defining how long we want those sentences to be, the sentences that are turning into numbers. Now, if your document is super concise with very small amounts of text in each point, like a frequently asked questions, then you want the amount of numbers that are going inside each number to be lower. And if there's obviously more like bigger paragraphs, then you want that chunk size to also be larger. But in this instance, I've defined 600 and 300. And I think honestly for like 90% of use cases, that's fine. And the chunk size and chunk overlap is basically just saying how big that sentence is and how much you want it to overlap. So let's say, for example, if we have 1,000 characters here and we have 500 characters here, it's 500. And then we have another 500 characters here and technically 1,000 characters here. As you guys can see, we have 2 chunks, chunk number 1 and chunk number 2, and the 2 chunks have an overlap of 500. So we've got 1,000, an overlap of 500. And the reason why that's meaningful is because in case inside your document, the sentence is like being cut off, it's going back a little bit as well to make sure that it will still grab that entire context. But honestly, if you guys are non-technical, I wouldn't recommend worrying about this. Just leave it as it is. And then just because I love you guys, I'm going to give you another workflow for completely free as well. And inside this workflow, what's actually happening is now let's say every single time you guys update this document, you don't have to go and run the other workflow again. What's going to happen is in practice, this second workflow is going to actually run, which is going to grab that document, delete everything about that document currently inside the vector database, and then upload it again so that you always have access to the most up-to-date version of your documents. So from a user perspective, all you have to do is just make changes and save it and don't do anything else. Your AI agent is going to have access to the most up-to-date version of that document. Now to set it up, all you have to do is just set up the credentials here, set up your credentials here, which is basically just choosing the credentials that you've already set up in the previous step, and then leaving everything else as it is, and then just choosing the credentials here. And then you should be set up to have the second workflow working as well. So the first one, as I said, is uploading a new file into your vector database for the first time. And the second one is triggering every single time there is a change to that document or any document inside the Google Drive folder. So your AI agent always has access to the most up-to-date version of all the documents inside your Google Drive. Now, honestly, who else is giving you guys this much value on YouTube? If you guys have stuck around this far and you found this video valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below, and also turn on the bell notification, because there is going to be a lot of more crazy AI agents and automation tutorials that I'm going to be making and giving out for completely free. So with that being said, let's get back to the video. Now, as you guys can see, the AI agent or the email agent in this instance has access to the RAG database. Basically how it works is the actual tool that the AI agent is connected to is basically just what we call a question and answer tool. So all the AI agent knows is that it's just meant to ask this tool questions when it needs to search through a document. And then this question and answer tool is actually what's connected to our vector database, which is in turn connected to an embedding model. And then that's coming back to this brain, and this brain is answering the question. So realistically, the AI agent asks the question, and then this tool has its own brain. It searches through the vector database, grabs the answers, sends it back to the AI agent, and then the AI agent can use that information in order to take action and do whatever it needs to do. So to set it up, you want to click on the Comexa information tool. You want to change this to whatever name you want, depending on the information that you actually have inside the Google Docs. Also make the data name descriptive. So in this instance, it's information about my company, so Comexa information. In your instance, it might be information about your products, which is like probably be something like, I don't know, Comexa products or whatever your company name is. And then you also have to give a very short description of the actual data to replace it with the actual description of the data you have inside the Google Drive folder. Just make sure that the information you have inside the Google Docs and the Google Drive folder is relevant to what you want the sales agent to have access to. And then you want to click on this and make sure that it's connected to your Superbase vector store. You want to make sure that the table name is actually documents. So if we come back here, you can see that we have Comexa sales agent, which is just another table, and we have documents. Documents is where the actual information is being stored. So as you can see, each of these rows is one chunk that's being converted into an embedding or a bunch of numbers. As you can see, we've got words converted to numbers. These chunks are also what the AI agent is calling on when it wants to be able to answer a question. So we're basically turning it back from numbers into words, and then we're giving it back to the AI agent. So all you need to know is that you need to use the documents. Don't worry about everything else. And so documents has to be set up here. Retrieve documents, leave it exactly as it is. You want to make sure you're connected to OpenAI. Just choose the credential that you already created. And then for the embeddings model, just choose the same embeddings model that you created on the other side. So embedding 3 small in this case, it's the cheapest one. And then we have this structured output parser, which is basically just telling the email agent what sort of output it should give out. So in this case, the parameters that we want is just the email body to basically send back to that sales inquiry, the actual reasoning for that email body, just like we saw before. So you can define like where it got that information from, whether it would want to escalate to a human. So in the case that it has insufficient information inside the Google Docs or inside the Google Drive to be able to answer that question, it will escalate it to the human. So as you can see over here in Escalate, I said true if you are unsure and need to escalate to your manager, false if you have enough information and you're sure of your answer. And then we have Comexa information, which is basically just the actual information that it pulled in from the RAG database. So then it could pass that on to the revision agent. So the revision agent doesn't actually need access to that RAG database again. But realistically, the more robust version of setting this up would be that the revision agents also have access to the same tool, so they can kind of think all over again. But honestly, with 90% of use cases or 99% of use cases, this is okay, even 99.5% of use cases. But if you guys want, you can go above and beyond and also give it access to these tools as well. But in the case that you do that, just make sure that inside the actual prompt, you define what those tools are and how it's meant to actually use them. So coming back to the email agent, the email agent also has a memory. Now, realistically, you don't actually need a memory for this sort of use case, but I've decided to put one in there anyway. Memory basically just allows the AI agent to be able to remember different executions. So if you call on it like 2 or 3 times within that same message ID, the AI agent will remember what happened in the previous sort of times you called it. But in this instance, obviously, we're just calling on the agent once, and then the revision agent is the one that's being called multiple times. So realistically, you probably wouldn't really need a memory there, but up to you guys. For the brain, we basically just have the actual brain of the AI agent, which is connected to the model. 4.1 mini, which is really cheap, but if you want, you can change it to 4.1. Honestly, I found that 4.1 mini, which is what I'm using across this entire workflow, I'm pretty sure, is more than sufficient. And it's also very cheap. So this sales agent is going to cost you guys little next to nothing to run, and it's going to make you a lot of money. So the ROI, or the return on investment for this AI agent, is absolutely massive. And so coming back here, as you guys can see, the email agent has a system message and a user message. So the system message is basically just saying you work in the sales team at Comexa, which is an AI automation agency. You want to change that to your business. You received an email, which is usually from a response to a cold email. And then I basically just tell it how it's meant to handle each email. Now, depending on the type of sales inquiries you get and the business that you run, you want to change this to two things. Number one, the role of the agent, which is basically who it is and who it works for and what it basically does. And then the actual context, which is just giving the agent enough information to know like why it exists and what the scenario at hand is. So then once you've defined those two things here for your own business, you would move on. So then I've basically just told the AI agent how it's meant to use the actual RAG database. So this is a RAG database containing all the FAQs regarding Chemexa. You must use this database to find information necessary to answer the prospect's inquiry. And then I've given it instructions, which as I said, is basically just handling edge cases and also defining its behavior and different sort of scenarios. So you will receive an email along with email history and an input. You must use the Chemexa information database to find the information necessary to respond to your prospect's email. And then I've given it the same things before. This is the current date and time. This is the actual sign off. Now, if you guys want, you can also add, this is the actual time zone. I probably should add that. And then if you guys have a look at the user message, it's basically just saying, this is the email that we actually received, which is the most recent email. And this is the summary of that thread for context. So it knows this is what we just received. And this is like every email before that, or the summary of what happened in every email before that. So it has enough information so it knows exactly what information it has to grab from the database and how it's meant to respond to each email. So then in saying that, what we're doing next is we just have an if statement here that's saying if we have to escalate, then go up. If it's escalating, it's basically just using a Telegram node, which is connected to all of the things before. So just change the chat ID to your chat ID, connect it to your credentials that you had before. So just choose the credential. And then it's basically just sending a message saying human action needed. This is who the inquiry is from. So this email address. This is the previous email for context. This is the new email. And this is why I can't handle this inquiry. And then you will basically just get that message and you can act on it yourself. But in the case that it doesn't need to escalate, meaning that it's more than capable of sending a reply to that email, which is probably 95 or 99% of the times, it's going to go back to this edit field thing that I explained before so that it will grab the most recent one from the actual AI agent. And then it's hitting the human in the loop, which again is just sending over a request via quick reply Ruby, which is saying, hey, is this reply good or is this reply bad? And then you can give it feedback. So as I said again, change the chat ID, change the credentials, read over this. If you want to change it, you can. But honestly, I think what I have here is pretty good for most use cases. But depending on your use case, you might want to change it. And then moving on, we've got the form elements. Just change these form elements if you'd like. But what I have is approve, yes, no. If no, you have to give feedback, which is the one down here. And if you want, you can also tell it to stop and go back to the human agent. So if you want, you can add more form elements, so you can add more options, really up to you guys. Just if you do, make sure that you also define the correct data handling approach after that so it actually accounts for the information that's coming in. So once that human in the loop is responding, it's either being approved. If it's being approved, the email is being sent out. Now this shouldn't be named send availability for neatness. I'll fix this inside the template so you guys will probably see something different. And then for the email, you just want to connect it to your credentials. We're replying to a thread. The thread ID and message ID is being pulled in, which is basically just allowing us to reply to that exact instance of that email. And then for the actual message of what we're sending through, we're just sending through the actual email body that we defined over here, whether that comes from the AI agent or whether that comes from the revision agent. So then once that email gets sent off, we just have the completed message and then it's going all the way back to the next email. So now let's say, for example, if we didn't accept and it goes to iterate, which is what happened before, it will go to the revision agent. Revision agent would basically have the same sort of prompting as before. So just read through it, change the parts that are related to Chemexa. It's basically just saying, this is the email, this is why the manager didn't accept it, and then this is the information that you need as context. Go and change the email based off the manager's feedback. Now, you would want to change, as I said, the sign off, the date, the time zone, the business description, and anything else you want to add as well, you can. And then in the user message, we're basically just giving all that information to it so we can use that information to create the new draft. And then the revision agent is connected to a brain, which, as I said again, is GPT-4.1 mini, and a structured output parser, which is giving those specific data points, which is email body and reason, which will be changed by the AI agent, which will go back up here, and which will go again inside the human in the loop node, so that this time you actually see the new revision and not the previous revision. But let's say in the instance that you want to hit the kill switch, you can say you want to handle it by a human, so stop human handling as an option, and it'll just go down here and it will exit this specific email and go to the next one and loop over the next one and the next one, the next one after that. So just before I sign off, I'm going to put the AI agent to the ultimate test. As you guys can see, it's now 7:49 p.m. and we just received 3 new sales inquiries. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how the AI agent performs if it receives a large volume of sales inquiries within that time period that we've defined. So this is basically just a test of the robustness of the actual AI agent. So now just before I run the workflow, I'm going to come into the new emails node and make sure we're grabbing the last 10 minutes of emails. Because as you guys can see, the earliest one was received at 7:46 and it's now 7:51. So we want to make sure that we're hitting all of those emails within that one single batch. And then I'm just going to clear the history for quick reply Ruby. So as you guys can see, we just ran the workflow. What's happening is that it's recognizing that 3 emails came in. It's going up, grabbing the thread. As you can see, all 3 of those emails were new emails. So there was no previous emails. It decided whether they're sales or they're not sales. As you can see, after that, it came in and it looped over each of them one by one. So we're first looking at the first one here, which was one for the calendar agent. Now, as you can see, quick reply Ruby sent me a notification. The customer email was, I'd like to schedule a 30-minute consultation on Tuesday, May 5th at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The availabilities was that there was no conflictions on that specific day for that time. And so it created an actual event from 4 p.m. to 4:30, which is perfect for that specific date, which is awesome. It gave a name, which is amazing. And it also defined the actual draft email confirmation that it's going to be sending along with that calendar invitation. So in this case, let's say we're happy with this. Let's click on approve, send that through. As you guys can see, what's going to happen is it's going to go up. It's actually going to send that calendar invite and it's also going to send the email confirmation. But as you guys can see, it's not going to stop there. It's going to go all the way back around. And as you can see already on the left-hand side now, we have another message from quick reply Ruby, which is for the second email. So this email says, I'm curious whether you offer off-the-shelf plug-and-play AI agents or only fully custom builds. What are the typical timelines and pricing models for each? So as you can see, this one, the AI agent realized that this is only an email that it has to reply to. There is no need to book calendars. So it basically hit the email agent down here and it responded saying, thank you for reaching out. I'm actually not going to read that because it's super long, but basically what it did is it grabbed information from the actual vector database, which in turn grabbed information from the Google Doc that you guys had inside the Google Drive. And then using that Google Doc, it answered the customer's question with this very detailed email. And then at the bottom, it also gave reasoning as to exactly why it wrote the email the way it did and what it found inside the Google Doc. So in this instance, let's say we're not happy. I'm going to tell it to make it shorter because I'm sure no one wants to actually read that. So I'm just going to say make it shorter and more concise, send that through. Coming back to the agent, you can see that it's actually hitting the revision agent again, which is coming back up. And it's going to send us another notification from quick reply Ruby, this time to the same email. But as you can see, it's a lot shorter. Now that one is really good. I'm going to accept this. And then just like that, an email should be sent. So just confirming what's happened till now, this is the email that we just sent back to Alex about the plug and play. As you can see, the email came back 0 minutes ago, which is the revised concise version that we approved of. And then for the calendar booking request, you can see that we also have the confirmation email that was sent through to Sarah. And if we go over to the 5th of May, you can see that we have a calendar invitation from kigsm.dev for that specific date, that specific time with exact details that the AI agent had requested from you. So just like that, we responded to 2 sales inquiries in like 2 seconds. But the AI agent didn't stop there. It actually went over and looped over the 3rd email that we had inside our inbox. So let's say if we got 3 emails within that time period, the 3rd email is actually saying we're exploring AI-driven automation for our sales team and would like to hop on a 30-minute call on Thursday. Could you please share your availability? Now, as you guys can see, there was no events scheduled for that specific day, so everything is actually free. So the AI agent decided to respond with an email saying, hey, this is our availabilities for those days. We're going to be in the UTC 10 or Sydney time zone. Let me know which one works for you. So now let's say in this instance, we want to tell the AI agent that we just want to handle it ourselves. We'll click on stop human handling. So we're not actually telling it to go and change anything. We're not telling it that it's good. We're just telling stop, don't do anything more. I will handle this myself. And just by submitting that, you can see that the workflow will end its execution because all 3 emails will be run and the availability node would actually never get called because you didn't actually send an email to that person. And just confirming that here, you can see that these 2 emails got a response, but this one, which is about that 30-minute call, didn't actually get a response because we told the AI agent not to respond. And so just like that, we built an AI sales agent that will literally replace 80% of your sales department. Now, this was a massive video to record, and it also took me a while to build this agent in the background. So I really do hope that you guys found this video valuable. And I'm basically going to be releasing a bunch of agents that will automate 80% of your business. And I'm going to be doing it all for completely free in my free Skool community. So if you guys haven't already joined my community, I'd really recommend you guys join. It's going to be in the link in the description down below. But otherwise, if you guys found this video valuable, I would really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and put it in the comments down below, because that would really motivate me to make more and more of these videos for you guys. But otherwise, I really appreciate you guys sticking until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.